Hi everyone, welcome to day 9 of our journey with the Celtic Saints, and today we remember St Piran. And I'm down here in the porch of the refectory because it's raining and it's drizzling and it's windy. Reminds me very much of Cornwall, and St Piran is the patron saint of Cornwall, along with St Michael and St Peter. So today we're going to look at this wonderful Cornish and Celtic saint. He's one of the earlier saints. He lived in the 400s and came over probably from Ireland, where he was known as St Piran, and he arrived with a millstone tied around his neck because he'd been thrown out by the Druids in Ireland for preaching the message of Jesus. And when he arrived on the shores of Cornwall, he set up a small little hermitage to continue his prayers. And his first converts, if you like, were a fox, a badger and a wild boar. And so St Piran was close to creation. And from these very humble beginnings, he walked the highways and the byways and shared the message of Jesus with all Cornish people whom he met. And they took him to their hearts because he helped them to build a bridge between their daily lives and the life of Christ and the gospel. And what a wonderful testimony to him. One of the great stories about him was one night gathered around a fire. There was a black stone in front of the fire, and then a miracle happened where white tin was poured into the stone in the shape of a cross. And from that, of course, we get the Cornish flag, the great symbol and emblem of Cornwall, under which Cornish people take great pride in. So this is St Piran. And what can we learn from St Piran today as we share together? Well, I think we can learn a couple of things. One is that being a Christian isn't always easy. St Piran didn't have always an easy life. Sometimes we can think if we just believe in Jesus, everything will be fine. Well, no, it's more a case of Jesus will be with us, and through the highs and the lows, even in times of great worry. And secondly, it's about how we can share the gospel. Sometimes it can be through famous preachers and through famous evangelists, and that's great. But more often than not, it's by the walking of the highways and the byways with those around us that they indeed glimpse something of Christ in us, and we can see something of Christ in them. And in that willingness to walk with them in building a bridge between their and our daily life and the life of the gospel. And this is something we can all do. It begins with being willing to listen. We don't have to always find clever words to speak. What we need to do is be willing to listen and to share that person's story. And then secondly, to bear witness to Christ in our own life. And that simply is by telling stories about how Jesus has touched our lives, whether it be at times of great worry or times of great joy, maybe in the everyday of life. It can be in church, it can be in creation, it can be everywhere, because God's Holy Spirit is indeed everywhere. And it's something, as I say, we can all do. What's important is to be able to tell your story, to tell my story, our story together, and of what Christ is doing in our day. And for that we are able to be thankful sometimes, because like even in this time of lockdown, the acts of kindness, the work and commitment to supporting the food bank and other things are testimonies to what God is doing in and through today. So that's St Piran. And I hope that you'll be inspired, and remember perhaps some Cornish friends that you may have today. Their feast day of St Piran is normally the 6th of March. They gather together and they sing and they dance with music and much gaiety. But obviously, as we meet today, well, the weather probably is very similar, but on the other hand, may there be a fire in our hearts as we recognise Christ amongst us, and indeed be willing to share that fire, that love, that light, that life with anyone who we may meet today. in gentle ways along the highways and the byways. So have a good rest of the day, and may God's Holy Spirit be with you. Bye for now.